Hey guys, I wanted to give you a quick look at Mount Wilson Ranch. One of the three locations, I believe, has a correlation to each other, meaning Skinwalker Ranch, Dugway Proving Ground, and this one. I've already covered, as you know, Skinwalker Ranch and Dugway. So this is where it leaves us. So we're just doing a quick rundown of Wilson Ranch, and I'm telling you, you'll probably see the same similarities that I did, especially with Skinwalker. Dugway, I really only think that the major correlation would be the UFO sightings, the UFO rumors, theories that kind of buzz around all three of these locations. But that's really the standout for Dugway. In this, though, there's more relationship between Skinwalker and and Wilson because of the history. So I'm going to say that, this Mount Wilson Ranch is about 100 miles north of Area 51. And it's all, which Area 51, they've been starting to call it the headquarters. I'm not really sure why. Well, no, it kind of makes sense if you think about it. It is sort of the OG of the weird stuff. And it's a location with deep historical roots, including stories about lost treasures of gold, and sightings of an American Indian shaman. And that's both seen on the grounds around the ranch. And also, they have living quarters, not living, well, they do. They have bunkhouses and stuff, but they also have like a motel and several rooms that are connected actually talk about seeing an apparition of a shaman. I mean, not everyone, but you know, it's been a lot of reports, obviously enough for it to make it on its website. So, I mean, this isn't definitely hopped on my bucket list. I can tell you that after learning all this stuff. So, um, now, of course, it wouldn't have made the list in general if UFOs and anomalous things happening around the ranch in the skies and stuff like that weren't happening. Also, so that's another reason why it's all tied in to the other locations. And the owner and operator, Jeff McBurney, and his staff, they welcome guests all the time, but they also welcome paranormal groups and podcasters, like this guy called Carl Crusher. He does a podcast on YouTube that I watch quite a bit, actually. He does great work. I think he's now, though, doing tours with Jeff, the owner, because they have these things you can sign up for on the official website. I'll put the link below if you want to check it out. But you can go there and go on like tours. They take you on ghost hunts and I mean, it's a little bit, they're trying to commercialize it a little bit, but only because it's sort of been, I don't want to call it the redheaded stepchild of the ranches, but it seems like it's been left out a lot in the past from, like, say, the likes of Skinwalker Ranch. So they're really trying to get, a lot of people to go on these take a chance, go and check it out. They've got this saloon called the Craw Creek Saloon, and there's other buildings too that they supposedly see, ghostly apparitions and things like that. But really, if you go back a little bit to the 90s when Bob Bigelow owned it, the famed UFO researcher and scientist Jacques Vallée, one of my favorites of all time, he went to the ranch with a team to investigate these claims of all these paranormal activities, specifically UFOs. Um, Now, the search for extraterrestrial experiences, and actually their search kind of expanded into interdimensional portals or wormholes. Also they have they actually used remote viewers, not on site, because remote viewers they're like the ultimate work from home job. And at the time, they were very well known, these two specifically. It was Ingo Swann, who I've actually talked about in the past, and Uri Geller. And honestly, they attempted, don't know if they were successful, because there is a book that Jacques Vallée, Forbidden Sciences, Volume 4, he put out. I have not, full disclosure, have not read it, but he had them trying to attempt to make contact with extraterrestrials if they were willing, or as they're called now commonly, non-human intelligence. I don't know. I think I'm still going to call them extraterrestrials. Non-human intelligence just sounds too scientific. I don't know. How about we just let them stay weird and be, aliens or something, or beings? Aliens actually sounds cartoonish at this point, but extraterrestrials seems legit. So, anyway, it's important to mention at the same time that Jacques Vallée was experimenting and doing research at Mount Wilson Ranch, a team was actually working at the same time over at Skinwalker Ranch, and the team's name was NIDS. Okay, and again, Bob Bigelow founded this group, and it's the National Institute for Discovery Science. Like George Knapp was a part of it, and who we know very well from Weaponized with Jeremy Corbell. And they were investigating over at Skinwalker Ranch more cow mutilations and also sightings of actual skinwalkers and anomalous things in the skies, UFOs, UAPs, things like that. Now, Bigelow started to think that Mount Wilson actually was a UFO portal inside the big mountain at Mount Wilson Ranch. So think that sounds familiar. It does to me anyway. It did. Like all sorts of bells and whistles went off because all I could think of was the current team at Skinwalker Ranch doing, the show Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, finding out what's inside their mesa that's in that triangle. So direct correlation right there from the just from Jump Street. It's like that's the biggest thing. You can go to Mount Wilson Ranch and there could be UFO base stuff underground. There could be the same thing at the Mesa at Skinwalker Ranch, all UFO or military and extraterrestrial together. That's where my mind kind of like, that's where I tend to go. I think it's all joint, um, kind of in tandem together. I think maybe I just like to think of it that way so that we don't feel like we're such a product of being manipulated or used or abused. The list goes on. But so Skinwalker, if you at the same time that they were doing these experiments with the NIDS group, they didn't find like cow mutilations and stuff over at Wilson Ranch, but this is the same time that the Skinwalker sightings at Skinwalker, like the Native American Skinwalker folklore and stories were coming really to fruition, and a lot of sightings. Same time, the shaman, the Native American Indian shaman, was being seen at Wilson Ranch. So tons of anomalous, paranormal, like all sorts of phenomena were happening in court, like at the same time as these investigations were going on. Okay, so I should mention that back at Wilson Ranch, also, Jacques Vallée was conducting experiments that were reminiscent of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, because I'm sure that you know that if you haven't seen the movie, watch it. My God, it's a classic. And but there's a French scientist researcher character in the movie that is specifically designed to represent Jacques Vallée. So he does a lot of light and sound experiments in order to try and connect with extraterrestrials. I should note too that Dr. Stephen Greer, he does these CE5 events out in deserts and areas and stuff like that. People pay to go, and they use music, they use light, they use lasers, they use all sorts of things like that to try to promote a communication or initiate communication with some sort of other dimensional beings. And again, I mentioned that Jacques Vallée published tons of books, but he has these Forbidden Science books. Volume 4 is the one I'm referencing because it was what was referenced on a documentary that I watched that is also found on the website that you'll get from the link that is below. So I really do intend to read that and maybe even do a review on it. I'm not sure, but it's this is all fascinating stuff to me, but I really just thought that you would want to know a little bit more about Wilson Ranch in the correlation between specifically Skinwalker, though. The current owner, Jeff, as I mentioned before, is really ready to reintroduce this location for the research community to come. He really wants to get it out there. He wants to be a little bit more public about, being a legitimate site for research for ufology scientists too. But I just know that, to compete with Skinwalker Ranch right now. I mean, the thing is, the big difference. It is really easy. You can just reserve your own rooms. You can go online and do it. Now, you can't do any of that at Skinwalker Ranch. That is like shut down to the public 100%. But Wilson Ranch, you could go to and have your own little, experiments and sort of things. But anyway, I am sure that there are plenty of other locations across the United States and the world, for that matter, that would show us a lot more. Though it's beginning to really like start to seem like there's a lot of, almost like a tingling or something in the air. Like it's almost palpable how much we're getting to see and stuff. I mean, I think, gosh, I look up at the sky all the time and I'm like, I swear, one of these times, I swear I'm going to see something. I mean, I know I've already seen something in the sky twice, but and I swear it responded to my questions, but I didn't have a camera going, so it might as well not have happened at all. I just hope like more whistleblowers come forward. I hope that the experience that David Grush is having doesn't deter too many people. I know he's experienced quite um, some adversities, which is terrible. But also, people are getting really sick and tired. The whistleblowers are getting real sick and tired of waiting for government and the private sector to come forward and just disclose what they know. So they probably are going to get real fed up soon and come forward. So that would be great. Anyway, that is my little my 2 cents or 12 minutes of of Wilson Ranch and the correlation between specifically Skinwalker, really, but it still does, have a little bit of the UFO, relationship to Dugway. So it's all connected, guys. And until next time, I hope you're staying happy and healthy. Stay weird and take care. Bye.